Good morning, everyone. This is Clint Walker. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Appraiser Secrets. It's another beautiful day in Middle Tennessee. I recently have been asked and seen a lot of different agents asking the same question, and that is, does a new roof add value to a property? The larger question there is, does completing maintenance on a property add value? Because a new roof, new air conditioners, new water heaters, fixing old worn out windows and things like that is all just taking care of maintenance that is one of the things, typically warn first time buyers about when they're buying a house. These are things that you should expect to have to do. It's one of the big differences in expenses from being a renter. So the question, does a new roof add value to a house, is sort of yes and no. It's no in that your appraiser is very unlikely to come along and say, oh, you put a new roof on there, I'm going to add $5,000 to the value of your house. Now, the caveat to that is, say that your seller has put a new roof on the house, and every single comp the appraiser can find has a worn out roof that absolutely has to be replaced. In that situation, the appraiser could very well just add the cost of replacing a roof to every one of those comps, which would essentially increase their suggested value, or what we call the adjusted sales price, up by that value, and therefore that would be translated to the suggested value for the subject. That's how we do it in an appraisal. We do it sort of like an accountant. We adjust all the comps to the subject to try to make them all equal and see what the suggested value is after we're finished with all that. So, in that situation, which is very unlikely, a new roof on your subject could just flat out add value to the property. In most situations, there's going to be a comp in there that's got a new or fairly new roof, because we're going to put in multiple comps, to try to cover a lot of different aspects of the property. And in most situations, you're not going to see a premium on that new roof comp just for a new roof. So, I'm going to say, in most situations, no, it doesn't add value. However, if you think about this as an experienced listing agent, you know that, or as an experienced buyer's agent, you know that when deferred maintenance does not get completed by the current owner and the buyer's coming through to do their due diligence, their inspector is going to point all those things out. And the next thing that's going to happen is the buyer is going to ask the seller to do all that work, because in most cases, if the buyer doesn't already expect it, their agent is telling them that deferred maintenance, that completing maintenance on the property for the period of time in which they've lived there, is the seller's responsibility. And so that is sort of the basis for why completing deferred maintenance doesn't add any value to a house, because appraisers know and buyers know and most everybody knows that they expect the seller to complete that work as part of owning that property, as part of being in a position to have gained the equity that they've gained. It's just part of ownership. It's a responsibility. That said, one of the ways that I like to talk to sellers about the merits of doing this deferred maintenance themselves, and one of the ways that I think that they can sort of gain some value, at least in theory, is that, in my experience, when things are left undone and tried to put onto the buyer to do them, buyers have what we call in appraising a very high entrepreneurial profit. That is the monetary incentive to get them to do something. Okay, so a new roof on a smallish house might cost $7,000. Well, a buyer doesn't look at that and say $7,000. A lot of buyers look at that and say, ugh, I don't really want to deal with that, but if they'll give me 10 for closing costs, then I'll deal with the old roof that needs to be replaced that they didn't replace themselves. Okay? So what the seller could have done for 7, they've now got to give 10. So there is a very real cost advantage, in my opinion, to them doing that work themselves and keeping that $3,000 for themselves. And I mean, some sellers don't do it for the exact same reason that buyers want that $3,000, because it's a little bit of a hassle to go and get quotes from roofing companies and live through, people banging on your roof for 3 days while you're in the house. So, if the seller has to decide, is it worth $3,000 to them, or however much that difference might theoretically be, to live through that for a few days or get out of the house for a few days and get that work done themselves. That idea of buyers having entrepreneurial profit, or a high demand of entrepreneurial profit, I see in many aspects of deferred maintenance, or even upgrading cosmetic things in renovation. Buyers are sensitive to the amount of hassle that's going to take. They're sensitive to the idea that it should have been done before they ever came along. And so what they demand is some profit on top of the cost of doing that work. So that's sort of everything I could think of as to on the subject of replacing a roof and how that plays in. I'm sure that other people have some other ideas besides that. If you do, I'd love for you to leave a comment and tell me, if I left something out, because real estate's complex. I'm trying not to crash while I think about these answers, so I don't always think about everything. But that's, in my experience, as both an appraiser and an agent, that's typically what I'm telling people I think they should do, and that's the basis of my advice. So really appreciate you watching. If you have any ideas for videos, love for you to leave a comment. If I can ever help you with anything, if you need an appraisal or a professional measurement, please go to appraiserpool.com and you can find out exactly how much your appraisal or professional measurement is going to cost there. And you can see my schedule and book me. And thank you again for watching, and I hope you find all that helpful. Have a great day.